Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. So this feels so weird. I have not sat in front of the camera and really spoken to you guys in such a long time. So how's everybody doing? Okay, so today's video is one that I've wanted to make for a very long time. A while back, way back when, I made a video talking about the advantages and disadvantages of being a mobile hairdresser or mobile hairstyler, traveling hairdresser, whatever you want to call it. And I had mentioned that I'm going to do another one where I'm going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of working as a home-based stylist, but that never happened. So I'm gonna do it today. First of all, sorry if the background is looking too busy. As you can tell, I'm sitting right in front of my vanity table area. Usually if I'm filming in the daytime, I try and take advantage of the natural sunlight and I sit right in front of my window, which is in front of me, but like all the way over there. I was sitting directly in front of it, but the grid lines in the window was casting a very annoying shadow on my face, so I had to back up a little bit. And I don't know what I've done in the past because usually when I sit there, I don't have that issue, so I don't know what I did wrong, but I could not get rid of that shadow. So I had to back it up, so I'm right here in front of my table, so I hope it's not too busy. I know it's not an ideal background for a video, but this is what we're working with today. So anyway, I'm just gonna get right into it. So I'm gonna talk about the pros and cons of being a home-based hairstylist. So I'm just gonna start with all the cons or the disadvantages first and just get that out the way, just get the negativity out the window. So yeah, first things first, the worst part is that there is a stigma attached to being a home-based hairdresser. I don't know where it started from for sure because working out of your house as a hairdresser or hairstylist has been done for generations and generations, but I feel like braiders and hairdressers and the beauty industry as a whole has been tainted and cheapened by social media, because nowadays all these influencers are claiming to be professional hairdressers, hairstylists, braiders, whatever, and they have no experience, no professionalism, no whatever it is, and they're giving all of us who actually take pride in our work, and they're giving us all a bad name. So nowadays, whenever people find out that somebody's working out of their house, automatically they like to assume that we're not trustworthy, our prices aren't consistent, we're not professional, this, that, the other thing. There's such a stigma attached, and it really is shameful. Personally, me, I've been doing hair for over 10 years, and I've been a licensed cosmetologist for over 10 years, and that was way before social media was as big as it was. It was before it was used for business, for advertising, so back then, it was still normal to just be a trustworthy hairdresser, but I feel like nowadays social media has ruined that for all of us. So anyway, I'm not going to get too into that, but the fact of the matter is working out of your house tends to make people not trust you so much, so it does make building a clientele a little bit difficult. I mean, obviously there's always going to be somebody for somebody, so there are going to be clients who will come, but unfortunately a lot of people have issues with that nowadays. So that leads into my next thing, which is that advertising is a little bit more difficult when you work out of your house because you don't have a storefront, you don't have foot traffic, people obviously aren't walking in and out of your house. You don't have a show window. So it's hard for people to just find out about you. You're pretty much relying on word of mouth all the time. And honestly, it's the same thing for mobile hairdressers as well. So it's kind of the same concept. But yeah, you got to work a little bit harder with promoting yourself. You have to use social media. Again, it's a thing nowadays, so it is what it is. What I used to do also was I made flyers and I put it in beauty supply stores so people can find me. I had pictures and my contact information so people could find me that way. And then also just using your own clients and hopefully they talk about you to other people and the word spreads, you know? But it is hard to have that traffic where people are just driving past you and they're like, oh, look, there's a new salon over there. Let me pull in right there. You know, you don't really have that. So it does make advertising and growing your clientele a little bit more challenging. It can be done. It definitely can be done, but there is more of a challenge there. So the next point is the obvious, and that is that when you're working out of your house, you have strangers walking in and out of your house. And that could be a negative thing for multiple reasons. So I'm just going to break it down quickly. First and foremost is the obvious, which is safety is always a concern. And this is what I mentioned when I was talking about being a mobile hairdresser as well. There will always be some sort of safety issues. There are many precautionary measures that you can take to make sure that you're as safe as possible, but nothing, unfortunately, is 100% foolproof. So yeah, you always have to keep your guard up. You gotta be cautious of who you're letting in your house, who you're letting know where you live, because this is your personal address that you're putting out there. So we can't forget that. Me personally, I do not live by myself, and that's why I feel safe doing this. My house is never empty, and anybody who comes over can clearly see see that. I don't have people walking in and out of the room where I work, but the fact of the matter is my house is not empty. So if anybody was trying to do something, they'll think again when they realize that I'm not alone. There's plenty of measures that you could take for safety. You could have cameras available, have other people in the house, like I said, have someone on the phone with you the whole time. There's always something you can do. Me personally, prayer is my 100% foolproof choice. Like, I've been surviving on prayer alone, and it has been working for me this far, and it always will. So that's my way of staying safe. But yeah, there's always some sort of risk there. So be mindful of where you live, who you're around, who you're letting in. If you feel like, I don't know, if you're just getting a bad feeling from someone in your gut, go with that feeling. That's your intuition. That's your discernment. So if something doesn't feel right, more than likely it's not right. So, you want to keep yourself protected. That as a whole could be its own category or its own video. And I'm not trying to spend too much time on any of these points because I want to get through this whole video without being long-winded. But yeah, plain and simple, safety is something you have to be very, very mindful of. Okay, so the next thing along that same line of having strangers in your house is that you have strangers in your house. People are nosy. This is kind of a funny fact. It's not really a huge issue that I've ever dealt with, but it is there. And I don't know, maybe not everybody would be bothered by this, but me, I hate when people come in my house and their eyes are in other places where they shouldn't be. When they come to my house, you come through my front door, we go down the stairs, and where I work is right there. There's no need for you to be wandering my living room, in my kitchen, this, that, the other place. We don't need all that. But there's always going to be those people who don't have proper home training. I'm just going to say it. People don't know to stay where they are or stay where they're placed. People like to just take walks in people's houses. Like, I'll let them go to the bathroom, and on their way back, they want to stop and be peeking in some other room. I've had somebody who actually had to make a comment about everything that was in my house. Quick story time. Before I had my shampoo bowl installed in my house, I used to have to wash people's hair in my kitchen. So I work downstairs, but the kitchen is upstairs, so they would have to go up the stairs. So going up there, you'd be passing my staircase and my living room and my dining room. And I had somebody who would always look at one of those other rooms and be like, oh, why do you have that hanging here? Or why do you have that over there? Or why do you have these curtains? It's like, mind your business. That's not for you to be talking about. Like, we're not friends here. We're not family. You don't need to be all up in my business. If you have a problem with the way that my house is set up or decorated, keep that to yourself, basic manners. So I'm the kind of person who gets annoyed by stuff like that. So, I mean, not to the point where I would stop doing this because of that. But for me, that is a huge issue. I do not like that. Fortunately, I don't do that too often, but I cannot forget the fact that people are nosy, and some of those people are going to be in your house if you're working this way. So that is definitely something to think about, if you're like me especially. And the next disadvantage or the next con that I thought of, and it's the last one on my list, is not really a big one. And as far as I know, it hasn't been an issue, but like I said, I don't live in the house by myself. So I feel like it's important to remember that if you are not living on your own and other people live in the house where you're working, you still want to try and find a way to keep that separate from your workspace. Because when people come to the house, a lot of times they're expecting a quiet environment, a peaceful environment. They're just expecting to be seeing you and you only as a stylist. So you don't want to have other members coming in and out of where you're working. So like, I wouldn't say to set up in a kitchen where people are going to be coming in and out, going to the fridge, making food in front of your clients and stuff. You still want to try to have a separate space. Because like I said, where I work is downstairs. It's away from the rest of the house. So generally, no one else in my house is really down there when I'm working. But I feel like a lot of times, because I've been to home stylists as well, and sometimes I feel like they forget that it's supposed to be separate and we're not coming to hang with your whole family. For a lot of people, that could be a little bit overwhelming, so keep that in mind. And in the same sense, sometimes for me anyway, I kind of feel bad because I know that when I have people over, obviously my family, they'll try and like not be as loud or like mindful of what they're doing, what they're watching, stuff like that. And I feel bad sometimes because I feel like at the end of the day, they're home, so they shouldn't have to be mindful of my clients and my work. Not that they've ever complained, but that's just, I guess, my guilty conscience. I don't know. I feel bad about that. So to me, that's something to consider. If you do live by yourself, you got to remember that it's not just you. I mean, if you don't live by yourself, you have to remember that's not just you in the house. You got to be considerate of what is going on with everybody in the house as well. So that to me is a little small thing, but still another thing to consider. Okay, so that is all for the disadvantages or the downsides or just like the harsh truths, I guess. So now we're going to go to the positive one, and we're going to start with the obvious, which is you are working at home. Obviously, it does not get any more comfortable than that. It's your home. This is where you live. This is where you dwell. So it's where you work. It doesn't get any more comfortable than that. And that honestly pretty much sums up the entire pros list or the advantage list. But yeah, you have everything right where you want it. Everything is set up how you need to be, especially when you're comparing home stylist to a mobile stylist. Being at home is a big advantage because you don't have to worry about packing stuff up, unpacking, packing again, sanitizing when you get home. You don't have to worry about forgetting anything. Your workspace is exactly as you want it. Because like I mentioned before with traveling traveling hairstyling. Sorry, I'm talking too fast. Sometimes you have to deal with working in small spaces. The lighting isn't adequate. It's not like your ideal work type of situation. But the thing is, in someone else's home, it's only so much you can customize. It's only so many things that you can bring with you to make it how you need it to be. But at the end of the day, you got to work with what you have. So in your place, you can make it however you want to, and there's nothing to worry about. So your clients can come and sit down and you can just get started. Pretty much like being at a salon, basically. But yeah, you have control over the temperature that they're sitting on, making sure that it's good for you. You can make sure that you have somewhere to sit if you can't handle standing for the entire service, which does get difficult sometimes. Even things like being able to order food as soon as you get hungry. Like when I work at my house, I'm always ordering food for me and my clients if I have longer appointments. At other houses, I do bring snacks with me sometimes, but I'm not gonna like pull out a whole meal of food and eat at someone's house. To me, I feel like it's worth to actually take a lunch break in someone's home. Maybe it's not a big deal, but I don't know, I feel kind of funny about that. So I try and bring my snacks, but if I'm hungry, I kind of just deal with it. I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of my clients usually bring me food without me having to say anything. They just do, and I appreciate that so much. But at the end of the day, nobody is required to feed me. That's not in my fee. That's not a policy. So, you know, sometimes I eat when I'm working, sometimes I don't. So obviously when I'm home, I'm in control of that. So I'm like, okay, I'm getting hungry, so you must be hungry too. You want to order something? Like, I love having that freedom. But yeah, I don't mean to just go on and on about food, but I'm just talking about in general. It's just nice to have that kind of control to make the work environment exactly how you want it to be. Because one thing about me, I know that when I'm working, I'm making sure that I'm comfortable and my client's comfortable. A lot of times when you're traveling, the client is obviously comfortable, but you don't have the most comfort. And I feel like as hairstylists, we sacrifice our own comfort a lot. But when you're working in your own house, you don't have to worry about that. So yeah, we love that. The next best thing about working out of your house is that you don't have an overhead. So this is more like in comparison to working in a salon rather than being a mobile stylist, because as a mobile stylist, there's not really much overhead either. But when you work in a salon or in a suite or you rent a chair or whatever, you have to worry about paying your rent. You have to a whole nother set of bills to pay. You have to worry about the electricity, the water, all that stuff. And obviously, if you're working out of your house and you're using electricity and water, it's going to add to your bills, obviously. But it's not like having a whole separate water bill and a separate electricity bill and another set of rent to pay, you know? It's just adding a little more to what you're already paying for. So getting rid of that overhead, sorry, I don't know why I'm so itchy. But yeah, getting rid of that overhead could help keep costs down a lot. And for that reason, you could also charge a little bit less if you feel to, which needless to say, your clients are going to love that. Not that I ever say to attract clients by having cheap prices, like still charge your worth. But I'm just saying you don't have to charge as high because you don't have to consider that. And it's just easier on your pocket and on your mind to not have a whole nother set of bills. And then the last thing on my list of advantages to being a home stylist is that there is no commute. For me, this is my favorite thing because as a mobile stylist as well, sometimes I drive far or I just drive multiple places in one day. It's a lot of driving and I don't mind driving. I actually love driving, but sometimes it gets to be a lot, especially at the end of the day where you've been working all day on your feet all day. Every part of your body is hurting and you are struggling to stay awake. Sometimes that drive home could be the most difficult thing you have to deal with. There have been times when I was driving home and it was a long drive and I would have to call somebody to keep me awake. And it's not even that my day was long, but it's just that it was so exhausting that I'm just tired. So I can't even describe how good it feels sometimes at the end of a long day once you let your client out. All I have to do is flip off the light switch and go up the 12 stairs to get to my bedroom. That's my whole commute. If I'm too tired to even clean up, I can just leave it there and get up early in the morning and clean it because it's my house. Who's gonna see this mess but me? I mean, obviously, it needs to be clean before my next client comes the next morning, but the thing is, I don't have to worry about leaving a messy store and coming back to it in the morning or people looking through my window and seeing a mess that I left. And I just don't need to worry about that or any other stylist coming in and seeing what I left behind. I don't have to worry. So if I'm too tired, I can literally just leave it, which I usually do, and I just take care of it in the morning when I have more energy. So I just love that there is no traveling. It's just the most convenient part about working at home. Okay, so that is all on my list. I know I had a lot more disadvantages than advantages, but believe it or not, the advantages still weigh out. The pros still weigh out the cons, in my opinion. So I love being a home-based stylist. Like I said, the worst thing is just that there's a stigma attached to it. So I feel like as time goes on, I have to try a little bit harder to prove that I'm still a professional. In fact, I actually have an entire video where I talk about how to be professional even though you work out of your house because I feel like a lot of people need that. Just saying. But overall, I love working out of my house. It's not something I will do forever. But for now, it's been treating me pretty well. So for anybody who's been considering doing that for themselves, I hope that this video helped give you more enlightenment and more information. And yeah, I just hope you guys enjoyed watching the video. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.